I get asked a lot of questions about the most popular diets, and right now there are several popular diets that are talking about eliminating carbohydrates altogether or significantly reducing them. So here's the thing, a low carbohydrate, and in particular, a lower carbohydrate than what most of us are consuming today, is actually better. But what does a better low carbohydrate diet look like? I'm about to tell you because there's a lot of misinformation, especially for women, and depending on your life stage, it may be a really big mistake to eliminate all carbohydrate, even for a short period of time. If you are doing that, I recommend that you work with a practitioner so that they can assess your total nutrient intake and make sure that you're not missing key nutrients, like some that you get from carbohydrates, whether it's fiber, whether it's B vitamins for energy and for heart health, or even nutrients that help to support healthy hair, skin, and nails, right? We don't want to end up looking like a train wreck just because we're on a low carb diet or feeling like one. So a lower carbohydrate diet, first of all, begins with, and you can use the Better Nutrition Plan to help assess what you're doing to see on this part, begins with spacing your carbohydrates out throughout the day. That's going to be the most important thing. That helps to deliver those rolling hills rather than those peaks and valleys in terms of energy. And when the body is more in the rolling hill mode, what it does is it actually has the nutrients it needs to give you better lasting energy, but it's also not stressed out. It's not saying, oh, I got a whole bunch of stuff to do at one time, right? And it also will reduce allocating belly fat and overall body fat. So it is a great way to either lose fat and also to keep that fat off. So how does one do that? Well, a good rule of thumb is looking at about 1 serving of carbohydrate at each what I call Better Nutrition pit stop. And those should happen about every 3 hours from the time that you're waking up in the morning. There might be some fluctuations. Life doesn't happen perfectly in 3 hours, but that's a good rule of thumb. And again, you can use the Better Nutrition Plan to see what a serving of carbohydrate is. We tend to use roughly about 15 grams. There's no perfect, so 20 is fine, but 28 is closer to 30, which would be 2 servings, right? And the other part of a low carbohydrate is, while there are carbohydrates that if you're following a no carbohydrate diet or trying to do ketosis, you might be counting the carbohydrates in things like broccoli or other non-starchy vegetables. I don't actually think that that's better because those are so important for you for a number of different reasons. And the carbohydrate in there is going to be used very effectively by the body for energy. So those are some of my preferred sources of carbohydrate for you. Other preferred sources of carbohydrates are the ones that we get from whole foods as opposed to the ones that are processed. So certainly we want to avoid the artificial stuff or the stuff that's been highly processed. But even the stuff that we're doing in the kitchen, maybe putting things into a blender and making something into liquid carbohydrate, right? That's actually going to be easier for the body to get a quick rush of that carbohydrate. So if we're trying to slow down and get in less of it, try eating the whole carbohydrate instead of putting it into the blender and doing it that way. And there are certain, the higher the fiber content in certain foods, so whether it's your fruits where you eat the skin of them or whether it's having beans or whole grains in their whole form, they're actually going to have a protective mechanism to how quickly that carbohydrate is used in the body because that fiber helps to slow them down. So another way you can think about low carbohydrate is actually just looking at what you're currently having and then having less overall. But what you want to do when you're reducing your carbohydrate intake is make sure you're including things that are going to give you better energy and lasting energy. And that's where things like plant-based healthy fats and proteins come in. So one of my favorite tips is like adding hemp seeds instead of putting croutons on something because the hemp seeds don't have any carbohydrate. They have some fiber, but they pack in those plant proteins and the plant omegas. So important for hair, skin, and nails, heart health, and overall promoting a healthy inflammatory response. Same thing with wild salmon. There's no carbohydrate in there. So you can do things like instead of using a tortilla, you could decide to use a lettuce leaf and make lettuce cups. Or even when you're doing pizza, you could decide to make the crust from a cauliflower crust. So we've got lots of great Better Nutrition recipes that are low carbohydrate for you over on the website at thebetternutritionprogram.com. And the final piece is just making sure that if you like a little sweet, it's okay, and it's even okay if it's added sugar sweet. Just try to keep that added sugar, try to budget and keep it below 6 teaspoons. That's the maximum in a day that you want to be having. And you also want to spread out those 6 teaspoons. So remember, a teaspoon is 4 grams if you're reading a label. That can be helpful and healthful when you're looking at the back of a bar or protein powder or a packaged food to understand how much sugar you're actually taking in. If you need more tools, remember to check out our freebies on the website because we have a sugar guide over there. We also have some the no added sugar menu, so you can check out how to reduce your added sugar intake, and that's part of one of the better nutrition tools that we also offer. All right, if you like what you see here, give me a thumbs up and maybe even subscribe. And please, if you have the opportunity, share this with other people, because we want to help people, and better nutrition better be free. So why pay to go get this information? You've got it right here for me. All right, take care.